All right, we are back with the man, the myth, the legend, producer Naoki Yoshida, as he shares his vision for Final Fantasy XVI with the Square Enix blog. Games producer shares more information about the highly anticipated action RPG, including the combat system, music, and more. There's the man himself. It's hard to imagine a more highly anticipated game than Final Fantasy XVI. The debut of the recent Dominance trailer thrilled fans with its focus on the characters, thrilling combat, and powerful icons featured in the game. It also revealed the release window for the game, summer 2023. Aww. The reveal probably left you excited and with more burning questions than Ifrit himself. The talented team is working hard to deliver an epic experience that new players and fans alike will love. But producer Naoki Yoshida generously agreed to take some time to answer some of our queries and share some additional thoughts about the game. Hello, Yoshida-san. You've previously described the story of Final Fantasy XVI as being like an intense roller coaster. What did you mean by that? My idea for Final Fantasy XVI was to bring to life the feeling of playing the lead in an epic motion picture, the same thing I felt when I played through the original Final Fantasy. To give players a breathtaking experience through a combination of expansive storyline, dramatic cutscenes, and real-time battles, including gargantuan-scale Eikon clashes, all seamlessly connected. It's a white-knuckle roller coaster ride in video game form. Now, what I really like about this is that you have the ability to play through something as if you were playing through the movie itself. The best thing I can correlate to this is when Final Fantasy VII Advent Children came out. I felt like the direction that they wanted to take the game was into some sort of playable cutscene style environment. And the way they demonstrated that was by moving it to a real, not real life per se, but a live action combat experience, which is what you felt when watching Advent Children. Why have you chosen an action-based battle system for this game, and what reaction do you hope it inspires from players? Hopefully he's ready for it. Each new entry in the Final Fantasy series brings with it a new world, new characters, and a new battle system. That is true. Each new entry beyond, let's say, okay, yes. If you add the changes to jobs, different little intricate detail changes like the gambit system, the sphere grid, zodiac job system, there are plenty of alterations to old battle systems, and then different limit breaks, overdrives, trance, etc. Yes, that is a correct statement. We get a lot of different suggestions from fans about what they want to see in the future games, and unfortunately it isn't possible for us to satisfy every one of them. There are a lot of younger gamers out there who might have never played a Final Fantasy game before. With Final Fantasy XVI, we wanted to appeal to as wide of a range of gamers as possible by setting the story in a classic fantasy world that's reminiscent of the early Final Fantasy games, but combining that with fast-paced, real-time action. Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a little disconnected from the youngest players. I bring my kids in every once in a while and they'll watch me play the games. And they're excited, that you're fighting something and then it transforms, and then, now it has more powerful attacks, and they're looking at the, vast HD quality of the background environments. But there's, I think, a separation between that very young age and being able to understand the complex emotions that the game wants you to feel in order to see the most value out of the storytelling. And so I don't know necessarily that it matters if it's going to be a medieval world or a post-apocalyptic world, or insert environment here. I think it's all about the ability to tell stories and And Yoshi P and the, Creative Business Unit 3 have done a great job at bringing that ability to tell stories to Final Fantasy XIV, and I expect no difference from Final Fantasy XVI. We have a comprehensive support system in place for players who aren't too confident with action games. So even if action isn't your thing, I hope you'll give it a try. I wonder if that's going to be like the Final Fantasy VII Remake pseudo turn-based style that they had incorporated. I believe that was only available on easy mode, but I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments. One other reason we went with an action-based battle system this time is to push the boundaries of what a Final Fantasy game can be and expand the range of possibilities for the developers who pick up the reins of the series after us. Yeah, I've heard different streamers, YouTubers, etc., when talking about the Final Fantasy franchise, kind of being in this new era of games. And so if I'm paying attention to what he's saying here, the people who are going to pick up the reins of the series, I don't know if that means he's going to find someone, or, the developers in the future are looking to move towards an action-oriented future for the series or the franchise, or if the gap that he's trying to bridge is innovation itself, going from that turn-based small adjustments, fine-tuning, and then you transition to a more action-based, and maybe the next path is VR or augmented reality or something of the like. But you can't start with no change at all and expect to find the future you're looking for. So there's a free summons or icons are an important part of the game. What was so appealing about this element of the Final Fantasy series? The icons of Valisthea are similar to weapons of mass destruction in the real world. Each nation has one, dwelling inside a human host, who inherits their powers by particular rules. These hosts are known as dominants, and each dominant has the power to physically transform themselves into their icon. Okay, so this is something new, because this isn't what we had thought previously, or at least not what I had thought previously. It's saying that there are rules, but that they have the power, each of the dominants have the power to physically transform themselves into their icon. So my previous understanding was that the icon was essentially in control of that transformation. But this sounds like the dominant actually has the power there. As the aether provided by the Mother Crystals begins to fade and the nations of Valisthea wage war to seize their rivals' crystals for their own, they resort to sending their icons against each other on the field of war. So yeah, it's a arms race essentially for power in the field of battle. You're sending the tool that you need when you need to employ it. The main storyline of Final Fantasy XVI centers around the dominants and their icons. The reason why we wanted to give the icons pride of place in the game is to deliver a unique experience where you're controlling these enormous summons and using them to battle against each other. It's a Final Fantasy first. No, I do think he's correct in saying that it's a Final Fantasy first from the aspect of, the Street Fighter VI, primal on primal fighting game that they've announced here. But we have been able to fight primals previously, even one-on-one in other Final Fantasy games, just utilized as a summon that you get to control until it dies. You've reunited with Masayoshi Soken for the game. What made him the right choice to lead this game's music? I mean, what didn't make him the right choice to lead this game's music? Soken has been phenomenal in Final Fantasy XIV, and I feel like his music only gets better over time. So I honestly think it's his time. He really has earned this experience, and I hope this reads the same way. I've been making games with Soken for many years now, and he's the composer who best understands not only what I, but our other director, Hiroshi Takai, and creative director Kazutoyo Mehiro imagine as the right kind of soundscape for a Final Fantasy game. Of course, the most important factor in that is that his musical style inherits a lot from Nobuo Uematsu, the father of Final Fantasy music, and he's always striving to follow in the master's footsteps. And I think he does a great job at following in Uematsu's footsteps, but I think he's definitely given the series, at least the games that he's had an impact on, a new flavor. It feels new. Think about action music and think about how he was able to, make those fine tuning adjustments and kind of come into his own. It's the same thing musically. And it's only, poetic that he follows Yoshi P to his next endeavor. Finally, do you have a message you'd like to share with the fans? I know I've kept you all waiting for a long time, but it's a great relief to finally be able to bring you the latest information about Final Fantasy XVI. We plan to share some more details about the world and the stories sometime this autumn, but I hope the latest trailer and media interviews can keep your imaginations racing until then. The whole development team, helmed by our director Hiroshi Takai, is pulling together to make the game the best that it can be, so please look forward to it. And there's Yoshi P's coined phrase, his token expression from Final Fantasy XIV. Please look forward to it. Definitely thanks to Yoshida-san for his insight into the game. Final Fantasy XVI releases summer 2023 for PS5. I've got a bunch more interviews to go, so again, if you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.